and kind of an opportunity for us to think about all the ways that Will Patten intersected with our lives. Lots of family here, lots of friends, probably some people from his various jobs. I see a lot of old soccer people here, people that I spent a great deal of my life about 20 years ago sitting in lawn chairs and eating pizza with. Still got the pizza. Well, you know, we're honoring and remembering Will today. And that's the appropriate thing to do. We're all sad that Will is gone. And we wish he wasn't, but he is. And this is not about him, but for him and for us. So a really good thing for us to do while we're thinking about Will and naturally thinking about ourselves at the same time would be to try to take something positive away from what we're going to do today. Will was a friendly guy, and I believe that he probably reached out to each and every one of us, maybe several different ways. And he knew many of us in very, very different ways. But he had a smile, a kind word. Some of us he helped with various things. Some of us helped him. He was good to be around. He was funny. He was ever so bright. He knew a lot of things. And he knew a lot about a lot of different things. Two people who won't be here today, but who are here in spirit, are Will's parents, Billy Bob and Rosemary. Fortunately for Will and them, and the family, is that they recently came out and visited. So while they will mourn this loss terrifically, they have some recent memories to take with them, and they love their boy. So if we have the chance to honor Will this afternoon or tomorrow, next day, any of the days following this, something like a smile and a hello to a stranger on the street. Perhaps sitting with someone who doesn't see people too often and listening instead of talking. Perhaps hugging one of your babies, however old your babies are, even more tightly than you usually do. Will did all of those kinds of things all the time. And so maybe we'll do one of those in his honor before we go back to our regular lives. Will and I grew up together. I always thought it was a shame for our families that we were 50 when it finally happened. But better late than never, huh? You know, we got there eventually. Will had many, many lives, many, many facets to his life. We did a bunch of different kinds of things together, Will and I. Our kids were involved in sports, and we did campouts as families, and he and I knew each other in some other ways out in the world. And so we had a fair bit of downtime together. And while I certainly don't know everything about Will, by any stretch of the imagination, I know that he was a bit of a rascal when he was a young boy. Those of you who knew him now can certainly attest that a bit of that rascal was left over. I know he was a temporary hippie, and I think actually he was a full-time hippie. It was just a temporary assignment. Will was in the Navy, served our country. Will was always kind of a seeker. He embraced new things, new ideas, new ways of being. He was in the IT business, which was completely inappropriate for someone of his age. He was in the construction business, which was completely inappropriate for someone of his talents. And he finished up in such a nice way of doing tours and helping people understand what a beautiful place we live in. I'm sure he enjoyed that. I never got to see him in action, but I just have the feeling he was really good at that. The Schaefer family, my family, met the Patten family on the soccer fields of Santa Rosa. Now, it's possible that we knew them likely before that. I can't honestly remember those days before, but it was in my last season or seasons as a coach of the smallest children until it was finally noticed that I did not have the faintest idea what I was doing. And we got to a point where people who actually had a feel for what was trying to be accomplished got a hold of the program finally. And Will was one of those folks. And there are any number of people in this audience who benefited from both Will and Kathy being part of that soccer system. And I lovingly remember things like Will honoring and loving the athletic abilities of the girls out on the field. Sometimes it was so much for him that he turned away just in pride. Just pride alone. And because of Kathy's wonderful maternal way and her medical training, she was often the team medic, and she would, in moments of stress, she would come to the sidelines and she would go, "Yeah, shake it off, you're not hurt." Sweet days. We used to think of them as Willie and the Pattens. Which could have been a garage band that almost came that close to a contract. We had really good times together, and we remember those today. Some folks who would like to remember Will on this day is the Navy Honors Detail, in light of Will's service for his country. And I'll let them do their thing right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here today to honor a fellow shipmate, to serve the country with honor, courage, and commitment. On behalf of the United States Navy and my fellow team members, please accept our deepest sympathies and condolences on the loss. Honors today will consist of the playing of taps, the unfolding and folding of the flag, the presentation of the flag to the family. While taps are being played, we would ask that you please rise, if able, and place your right hand over your heart. Active duty service members and veterans may render the proper hand salute at that time. We will begin shortly. Now please kindly rise for the playing of taps.
Well done, sailors. Thank you. Willie had lots and lots of friends. If you met Willie, you were friends with Willie. But like everyone else, some were better than others. Some loved you more than others, and you loved some more than others. A loving friend of Willie's, Bob Rummel, is going to step up and talk a little bit.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you for the privilege of being here. Well, my name's Bob, and we met Willie in 1989. We moved here from Connecticut. We lived on the same street, Zerlo, and we were on Gambles. And if it wasn't for the Patten family, I think the Rummels would have gone back to Connecticut. But the thing I remember so much about Will, I call it Will the Kid. Their house at Halloween was kind of scary. He actually had this scary outfit, and he would hand out the candy and do things, and everybody knew to go to the Patten house. And then Christmas, I kind of equate it to the Chevy Chase Christmas vacation. Every year, more and more lights would be put on that house. You know, it's just absolutely, absolutely amazing. But the kids in the neighborhood, they love to go to the Will house because Will, and this is 89, 90, somewhere around there. He was a computer geek, like Bruce said. He had this brain, and he had wired these computers together so that they could play this interactive game. Now, this was a long time ago. And he played this game. Now, help me with the name of the game. What is it? Doom. Doom. I played it one time because the kids would never let me play. They always hogged the joysticks and the screens and everything. And Judy told me this one. One day he come running over and he knocked on our door. Kathy was in the house. And he was so excited. And he comes running in and he goes, "Kathy, guess what? I just won Windows." And Judy thought, well, their house is pretty good. Why would they need Windows? I mean, that's a long time ago. Windows has been around a long time. And he got one of the first copies of it. And then Will, the family guy, we did a lot of things with the Pattens. The Pattens and the Rummels. We did vacations together, camping, Hendywood, Hendy Falls. And, you know, and he taught us. I don't know. He taught it. I'm not exactly sure what came first, but we had these games that we'd play in the woods, and we ended up having not only the Rummels, but the Tedeschi's and the Thomases and let's see who else. The Pattens and the Rummels. Yeah. We had a lot of kids, and they played this game called Sardines. And so every time we go up to these campgrounds, it became a thing that the kids looked forward to dress in black. Sardines is like the reverse of hide and go seek, and you'll have to have somebody explain it to you. But it's really a fun game if you don't mind laying in the leaves somewhere in the woods. You know. We did a lot of vacations together, family vacations, the Pattens and the Rummels. I remember we did the Phoenix vacation once. We drove up to see the Grand Canyon, and it was so cold. We got out of the car, we walked over to the edge, and we looked at it. We got back in the car, and we drove back to Phoenix, where we had a pool and all sorts of fun things. And then there was, what's the other one? Oh yeah, the cruises. So New Orleans, yeah. We went down to New Orleans, and I was telling Terry, and, we went up to see him and his fiancée at that time. And but we came back into New Orleans, and we scalped this area. We scalped tickets for a football game, and it was the Saints against the Chicago Bears. And so we had 4 tickets in 4 different parts of the state. And we all met somewhere. We got back in the middle of it, but we enjoyed it. We did cruises, carnival lines. We did the Mexican side. We did the side over on St. Thomas and the Caribbean. And actually, that was the one where some of the reasons we do a lot of these things together is Willie's and Judy's birthdays are very, very close together. So there always seems to be celebrating their birthdays. So we did their 50th. So that had to be about 13 years ago we did that. And then there is the, I want to call it the competitive will. Soccer, sports. We played games, a lot of card games. And I always thought the card games, when we lived on the East Coast, you did it because it's always snowy outside, but we played hearts, we played spades, we played pinochle, we even got into bridge, Rummy 500, and Michigan Rummy. And those are all fun games. And then we got so bored with some of them, we would call it, rather than spades, we would call it call your own. You know, rather than spades, we'd do whoever did the most or whatever, would call it hearts or diamonds or whatever. And he was an expert at a lot of different things. I love to play golf, and I still do. I haven't played golf with Will in a long time, but every we would get together, he would always beat me. I swear to God. I don't know what it is. It's a competitive spirit, but he was able to just, win. He was very competitive and cool. He was a pool shark. I swear to God, I've never seen anybody able to play pool as good as Will. And then he had soccer with the kids, and then all these other things that he has done. He's also the musician. See, we've got his guitar out here, and one day while playing golf, Will and I came home with this guitar. This guy sold me, and paid $50 for it. And so he taught me a couple of chords to play. I would strum it, and I got myself a book to learn all the chords. And then I would go over and hang out at his house, and we'd sit in the garage, and he would set the rhythm, and he said, "Okay, play chord this and chord that." And I was really rocking. And to me, it was a learning experience. I really liked doing it. And then finally, one day, Will goes, "Wow." He says, "You haven't improved at all. You need to go back and practice a little bit. Then we get back there, and then we'll play together." I swear, he was something else. Anyway, and then, like I said, the family man, the 4 beautiful girls, and then 5 grandkids. 5 grandkids. And he is a father, a grandfather, and he, like he said, like Bruce said, everybody loves Will, and Will loves everybody else. He touched a lot of lives. He devoted a lot of times to improving other people's lives. He really did. He taught his kids how to play soccer. He brought them all the way through the stuff. He lit up the room with his smile and his personality. That was Will. That was Will. And his smile and his fullness was very, very effective. So what I'd like to do is, this is a celebration, and I would like everyone to take a moment and close your eyes, please. And I want you to think about a special interaction that you've had with Will. I hope you have it, because that's how I want you to think of Will. Will, I love you, man. You take care. Thank you, Bruce.
Thanks a lot, Bob. We're going to hear a little bit of music now. Music was a very big part of Will's life. Will and I played guitars together sometimes. He was just so much better than I was. I didn't just quit guitars and quit listening to the radio. Whatever. Joseph, are you going to play for us?
Indeed.
There you are.
Will and I met in 2006, and we found we had a lot of things in common. One of the main things was music, and we very soon started playing guitars together, and I dragged him into various performances that I've done in Sonoma County. You might think of Will as this brave guy who doing, but he had stage fright, I'll tell you. And I played guitar better than he did. So I'm the winner. So you think you can take heaven from hell, blue skies from pain? Can you tell a green field from a cold steel rail, a smile from a veil? Do you think you can tell? Did they get you to trade your heroes for ghosts, hot ashes for trees, hot air for a cool breeze? Did you exchange cold comfort for change, or walked on part in the wall for a lead role in the cage? How I wish you were here. We're just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl, year after year, running over the same old ground. How we found the same old fears. Wish you were here.
out the guitar again one of these days.
Okay.
Except you're better than I am. Doesn't affect
I
me.
take on charity.
It affects me poorly. Bob Rummel talked a little bit about Willie's competitiveness, and that was absolutely a fact, no question about that. He was even competitive about his grandparenting. But I was so excited when I started having grandchildren. Then, of course, Pattens produced grandchild after grandchild after grandchild. He looked down at his nose at me. You know that look that he had when he looked down? Still just the two. Now, the 4 little grandchildren have been caged somewhere off-site. Although I think maybe I see one over there somewhere. But the senior grandchild, Janae, is going to come up and say a few words.
Hello. Life gets better with age. The more you begin to love and accept yourself, the better life gets. But it takes time. It takes years of learning. Be patient with yourself. Imagine a young, cynical punk hearing this from her grandfather. He was never reticent to help me diminish pain and confusion in my life with just a few simple words. My grandfather and I have always been kindred spirits, deeply bonded in a very cosmic, metaphysical sense. We shared very similar dreams and visions and found comfort and beauty in adventure and the courage to live life to the fullest. Willie has been present in my life, in every phase of my life. He was my father, more of a father than my own. He was my teacher, and he was one of my best friends. You see, I've always been a bit of a wanderer, living my life as a radical artist, an activist, existing in ways deemed unusual to conventional mainstream society. And the truth is that Willie was the only family member in my life that not only accepted it about me, but appreciated it and wanted to be a part of it. He was so engaged and supportive of my weird life that I wasn't hesitant to just be myself around him. It was so easy to be me. He would call me a few days before he would show up to wherever I was in the world, and he would just be like, "Hey, it's Deepa, I'm ready for a new adventure. Let's do this," and that was sort of the foundation of our relationship. I think that he saw the wild, free-spirited nature in me that was also in himself. And we were always very honest with each other. He talked to me about his past, his mistakes, his regrets, his darkness, and his light. He wasn't scared to kind of just lay it all out on the table. It didn't matter that I was his grandchild. And I held space for him in the same way that he held space for me, in the same way that he held space for everybody in his life. His honesty really inspired me. As many of you know, he wasn't a man that was hard to please or make happy. He didn't complain much. He was thrilled just to hike up a mountain, to play his guitar by a river, to wander around the city and admire its chaos, to watch people be people, to listen. To be a father and a grandfather was a whole other arena of adventure and growth for him. And I feel so grateful to have known this person. to have had him in my life thus far as a teacher and a dear friend. And I'm sure you can all agree with me when I say that his loving and supportive presence will be greatly missed. He had spoken to me several times about taking this road trip across the country, it being something that he really wanted to do in the near future. So I've decided that I'm going to be taking that trip in honor of him. And I hope that we can all continue to find ways to keep his spirit alive in us, in our children, and in the spaces we create and share together. I wrote this poem in my grieving process, and I feel like I should also share that with you all. Take a sip of water. The inevitable flutter of death, swift and cruel, bejeweled and delicate. A heart that is present is the purest form of truth. Your truth was the way the ocean looked with an ice cream, the movement of a soundscape, walking forward and up. Your truth was wild at heart, an inquisitive child. The time on the mesa when I spun around in circles laughing, your truth was to smile in silence and let it be sacred. The time I got terribly stoned and too scared to climb up the final stretch of cliff, clutching onto the rail, your truth was to encourage bravery. When I fell madly in love and had to call you immediately and let you know, your truth was a familiar dream. A sun-toasted boulder, a strawberry breakfast, a primal sensation. Your truth was the deepest blue harmony, effortlessly aware of your heart at any moment. And so it goes. May your spirit fly high and free. May your soul rest easy in the deep soil of the earth. May your truth be the story I tell and the story I live my life by. Thank you.
It's wonderful to see that the secret tree blooms more than once. There are 4 Patten daughters, all cool. Three of them are about to come up here and tell you a little bit of something. And the 4th daughter is going to sit back there and manage them with her eyes.
That was beautiful. Hi, everyone. We are truly delighted to have you here to celebrate and remember the life of my dad, Will. Thank you so much for coming. That many of you traveled long distances serves to remind us all just how important Will was to his friends and family. And while there are many familiar faces in the crowd, there are also many new faces out there. So I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Melissa. I'm the oldest daughter of Kathy and Will's 3 daughters. With me are my sisters Colleen and Whitney. When the 3 of us sisters got together to start planning out what we wanted to say, we made a list of personality traits we admire and in some some cases, share with our dad. Me, for instance, I have a deep love for time management and efficiency. Anyone that knows me would, that's why you're laughing. But efficiency and timeliness were something my dad ultimately aspired to. For example, we're gonna get really light here, a little humorous. But whenever we wanted to attend a movie as a family, there was always a big to-do. My dad always had a plan. He would give everyone in the family a rundown of the plan, hours or even days ahead of time. About 2 or 3 hours before the movie started, he would go and get the tickets and gas up the car. Talking about a movie here. Once he got back home, intense or crazy movie guy mode kicked in. He would pull up to the house in the Suburban, jump out of the Suburban, start walking through the house very rapidly, saying, "Okay, you have an hour to get ready, get in the car." At which point, some people rolled their eyes and laughed and chuckled. But he usually started doing chores at that point, because he had long been ready to go. The chores he chose to do were always strategically close to where the tardiest members of the family were. Like I said, he was an excellent planner and time management. Half an hour later, he would give the 30-minute mark. At this point, he would start pacing around the house, making eye contact with people, pointing at his watch, and reminding them they only had 30 minutes. 15 minutes later, it was time to get in the car for the final countdown. The Suburban would be inspected and cleaned as necessary. Once the Suburban got the all clear, as decided by himself, it's time to open up all the doors of the Suburban, crank up the tunes, and wait for everyone to arrive. I was almost always the first to arrive, usually only 5 minutes early though. I partly did it for my love of timeliness, but I partly did it because I love the positive affirmation I got from my dad for showing up on time. Once in the car, he always wanted the full report of everyone else's status. Sometimes, if the situation sounded dire enough, he would run inside to help encourage people along. Or he would start a contingency plan. Most of the time, he would wait, though. About 2 minutes to go, he would actually start honking the horn. 1 minute to go, he'd actually start revving the engine. Colleen usually showed up right then, right on time. Whitney and Kat, they were actually never on time. I don't know which of them was not on time, but they were like a package deal. After a couple minutes of waiting, my dad would do one of two things. He would go into the house, try to round people up in whatever state of readiness they were in. Or, on a couple occasions, he actually pulled out of the driveway and drove around the street. At this point, Colleen and I, usually the ones in the car, were never quite sure if he would leave or not. It never seemed very far-fetched. He was very competitive and timely. He liked movies. I don't recall that we ever did leave, because at the last second, Whitney and Kat would always come running out of the house, and it always required running. Finally, we'd all be in the car, ready to watch a movie. So much planning and drama, all for a movie. That was him. He was passionate and intense, which I think is why he loved driving the trolley. And yeah, it was a retirement job, but he never had to wait for people. People always wanted to be on time.